Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the OP Jindal Global University's QS iGauge press meet. We have Professor C. Rajkumar. He is the founding Vice Chancellor of OP Jindal Global University. Professor Raj has an academic qualification from Harvard University of Hong Kong, University of Delhi, and Loyola College. He is a Rhodes Scholar as well. Professor Raj has done a specialization which includes human rights and development, terrorism, and national security. He has over 125 publications to his credit and has published widely in peer-reviewed journals and law reviews in Australia, Hong Kong, India, Japan, and USA. We also have Mr. Ashwin Fernandez. He is the Regional Director, Mid East, North Africa, and India, QS Intelligence Unit. Mr. Ashwin is the Regional Director, East. He joined Cockerelli Simmons in 2012, working in various capacities before moving on to the QSIU. Ashwin works closely with the universities in the region in order to understand their current and future plans and help them optimize their resources. His role is to advise and consult with them for developing long-term plans. He is also responsible to liaise with government and public agencies in these regions to create a strong affiliation with QS, which would help in better understanding the local institutions and helping them promote their country as a whole. Ashwin is also on the board of directors of a recent QS venture in India, which is geared towards rating and assessing services, paving the way for the government to have confidence in private accreditation agencies. Prior to this, Ashwin was working with NEOSYS software in the capacity of an advertising and media software consultant. I welcome Mr. Professor C. Rajkumar for his words.
All right, first of all, I would like to welcome all the distinguished media persons who are present here. What we will do is that we'll quickly hear Ms. Ashwin Fernandez to have a brief presentation about the QS rankings and also the QS iGauge, and then we'll have the formal presentation ceremony, and then we'll have a Q&A session. Ashwin.
A very good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to address all of you all, fellow colleagues from the press and from OP Jindal Global University. I represent QS here today in my capacity in India as CEO of our recent venture called QS iGauge. And it's a pleasure for me to announce today that we are here to present OP Jindal with one of our highest rating in our assessment, which we have done using QS iGauge. So let me share with you a little bit more about QS. A lot of you might be wondering, what does QS stand for? What goes behind our rankings, ratings? So this presentation will cover all those areas. So the first things first, I have to share with you our mission. Our mission at QS is to enable motivated people around the world to fulfill their potential by fostering educational achievement, international mobility, and career development. We celebrate 15 years of our rankings this year, and that means 15 years of providing information for decision makers to make those life-changing decisions, especially students. We were founded in 1990 at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, and our founder, Nunzio Quaccarelli, and that's a Q in the QS, you're wondering what does QS stand for, started off by producing a book called The Top MBA Career Guide. Later on, he met with Matt Simmons in 1995, and the Simmons is the S in the QS. And since 1990, we've been producing information for decision makers, for students to make those decisions. So in 2018, which is this year, we have over 500 staff members working across the world, speaking close to 40 plus languages. In India, we employ close to 100 staff members based in Mumbai and Bangalore. And we have a Japanese connection very recently with Mitsui and Company coming in as one of our stakeholders to support our mission to take QS further. Our rankings are referenced by several organizations. These are international organizations. In India, the UGC has also included QS as one of the rankings to be referenced for the autonomy project. Our rankings generally, which you probably heard about, are the world rankings, which celebrate 15 years. Our Asian rankings, our Brics rankings, our QS stars. Now, a take home for you today would be our rankings are approved by IREG. Now, what does that mean? A lot of you come from media houses. In India, we are flooded with various rankings produced by various magazines and various media houses. So this approval actually is, we are the only international ranking agency to have received this approval, which means our rankings are compiled professionally and with a transparent methodology. QS is also a social enterprise, we believe, and that is through our scholarships project. It's important I share this with you because being a global corporation, people do have the notion that we are here to make money, but this is exactly where our efforts go in. We fund 1.6 million US dollars every year for scholarships for students in across the world, especially deserving students. So we have a system where the students can apply and get these scholarships, and they can study at some of the world's top leading universities. So who is our audience? While we are addressing you, you are definitely an important audience for us. Our rankings are compiled primarily for students to make life-changing decisions. And that's when a student wants to go abroad, perhaps to an international study destination. So all our rankings, ratings, and information services are geared towards keeping students in mind. But at the same time, we have an ecosystem consisting of academics, universities, press people, scholarship providers, current students, the government, university leaders, alumni who look at our rankings. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure our rankings, our ratings, our information services appeal to students, are understood by the students, because that's whom the founder, Nunzio Kwakureli, when he initially started off, he wanted this to be a student-focused tool. So again, there's a confusion generally about rankings and ratings. So I have decided to share with you a little bit more about what are rankings. So QS has been producing rankings for 15 years. Rankings are based on relative performance. So you'll have a hierarchical list with 1 to 1,000 in our world ranking, or 1 to 400 in our Asian ranking, or 1 to 350 in our Brics ranking. And that list tends to change every year depending on the performance of institutions. I will go into methodologies in a while. It definitely has limited indicators, because a ranking which QS produces is not an opt-in ranking. When QS believes you are a good institution, you deserve to be ranked because you are probably an IIT or you are one of the state university, we will rank you irrespective. And definitely it favors research. And it is a public service. So QS does not charge any fees for institutions to be ranked. And definitely the three major examples, QS, THE, and the academic ranking of world universities by Shanghai Jiao Tong. In India, we are very happy to see NRF producing a ranking, so that also goes in the ranking area there. But ratings is a new trend. So the ratings what QS produces are generally, across the world as well, when we compare, are inclusive and adaptive. It's a global standard. It's for a fixed term of 3 years. So when we are going to unveil the QS iGauge rating, which has been awarded to OP Jindal Global University, it's meant for a period of 3 years, whereas the ranking which OP Jindal Global University has is valid for the period of 1 year, and it could change after 1 year depending on the institutional performance. It has a lower emphasis on research. India, again, being a system which is diverse, which is different, deserves to be evaluated differently. So that's why the ratings looks at this. And generally, it's a paid service because it takes 6 months to audit an institution. So examples in the country, NAC would be a kind of a rating system, which is national. QS iGauge or QS Stars is an international rating system. So that's an example for you, a difference for you between rankings and ratings. I believe, and my apologies for sounding pompous, but we are the most influential global rankings today. I'll give you some examples later. But in India, you can see in the last year, we've engaged extensively with the government, with MHRD, with UGC, and several other bodies, including state governments, to be able to make us more visible to the people as well. So 3 rankings which QS produces, which is relevant to India today. And we have seen a trend of India rising in our latest World University Ranking. So quickly, our World University Ranking, we celebrate 15 years of this ranking this year. The methodology, first, is research reputation. We look at what do global academics have to say about Indian institutions and which are the most recognized Indian institutions as per a global survey of academics. That's an academic reputation. We also go into employer reputation, finding out from global employers which are the universities they would prefer to hire from. We look at the faculty-student ratio. Again, we don't set a number, but MIT, which is the top university in the world today, the number 1, they have a faculty-student ratio of 3 students to 1 faculty member. Yes, it is perhaps impossible to have in India, but that's why the global benchmark is 3 to 1, and then everybody else is scaled down. So that's a 20% weight for faculty-student ratio. Citations per faculty. Now, this is pure research happening in Scopus, has a weight of 20%. International faculty has a weight of 5%, and international students has a weight of 5%. This year, a couple of weeks ago, we released the 15th edition, I like to stress that, in which we had 24 Indian institutions in this ranking. And in this release, which was released recently, the rise of Indian institutions is due to the increased research reputation of Indian universities. So that's great to have. We have 3 Indian universities in the top 200, and we've had more private institutions in this edition. We then have the Asian ranking. Now, because we wanted to provide a ranking system which is relevant to the Asian region, starting from Pakistan to Japan, all the countries in between are covered in the Asian ranking. We changed the methodology a bit. Research reputation was 30%. Employer reputation was 20%. Faculty-student ratio was reduced to 15% weight. Papers per faculty, because not just the impact of research, but the productivity was important to be addressed in Asia. So 10% weight for papers per faculty, 10% weight for citations per paper, both from Scopus. We look at staff with PhD, qualifications are important, so that was introduced in an Asian ranking. And a 5% each for international students and international faculty between themselves, and exchange students have a weight of 5%. Again, when we look at the ranking in Asia, the next edition will be released in October, and we hope that the number from approximately 34 will increase to maybe 40 or 50 as more Indian institutions are rising in Asia. The next one, which again we celebrate with OP Jindal Global University, is the inclusion in the Brics Ranking. So what is the Brics Ranking? It is a ranking of emerging economies of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. In this methodology, which was championed by the Russian government and supported by all the BRICS countries, academic reputation is 30%, employer reputation is 20%, faculty-student ratio has a weight of 20%, papers per faculty has a weight of 10%, citations per paper has 5%, staff with PhD has a 10% weight here, and then international students and international faculty have a 2.5% weight each in our BRICS ranking. And with this ranking, we had 79 Indian institutions, 79 Indian institutions which were featured in the BRICS ranking. That number is much more lower than any other BRICS countries, excluding South Africa though. But again, it's a number which has increased from 14, has increased to 79. So again, India is rising, and we would like to celebrate OP Jindal Global University's ranking, which is 251 to 300 in the BRICS economies there, and they were the top 10 private institutions in India to be included in this edition of the ranking. So that's one accolade, congratulations, but what happens beyond this? We wanted to provide a much more deeper lens into Indian higher education. And that's when last year we were working on a project called QS iGauge. So QS iGauge was a project championed in India We got some of the biggest names in Indian higher education to support this. One of them being Professor Arun Nigavekar, who was the founder of NAC, and he was also called the father of the quality movement in India, a former UGC chairman. Other names like Samir Kumar Brahmachari from CSIR, the former director of IMM Bangalore, and other 8 more erudite professors and academicians to come and develop a system which is not just Indian, but which is globalized, which has global ambitions, but Indian indicators. That's when QS iGauge was launched on the 21st of March in New Delhi at the Imperial Hotel by the Honorable former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, in the presence of the UGC chairman there, NAC chairman, I think it was, chairman for NAC. He was former UGC chairman. And this system is for institutions to provide a much more deeper understanding of themselves. Very quickly, the features: it overcomes the skewness which can occur during different types of institution in the rankings. It has stakeholder participation. So out of 5 minutes, we'll conclude this. We have stakeholder participation. It's important. Now, why I want you to focus on this is alumni is a product which has already gone out to see how they are doing, empowers institutions even in the tier 3 and tier 2 cities to have data collection. Definitely has a rigorous validation process, empowers students' use of ratings, again, for students to make those decisions, and can serve as a holistic performance tool for the institutions. So when we look at the measures here, there are 12 categories, and you can see it starts from teaching and learning, because India, perhaps research is not the most important, so we move research into the optional criteria here, and teaching and learning has the biggest weight here of 250 points, followed by faculty quality, employability, student diversity, facilities, social responsibility, and accreditation, followed by 5 secondary, so arts and culture, faculty diversity, entrepreneurship, research, and innovation. An institution selects 2 out of these 5. Based on the number of points you get, you're given a rating from provisional to bronze, silver, gold, diamond, and diamond plus. Now, again, let's celebrate today OP Jindal Global University's inclusion in our QS iGauge rating, which got an overall of diamond. That's great, but let's look at what are the areas you did really well. Teaching and learning, a top rating of diamond. Employability, important in India, a top rating of diamond. Facilities, diamond. Social responsibility, diamond. Entrepreneurship, diamond. And accreditation, diamond. Top rating in 6 categories. Let's look at the age of the institution, 9 years. Research, silver. Student diversity, silver. And faculty quality, gold. So congratulations. I think for a young institution that really has a lot to say behind getting things right. So even age is not a factor in building a world-class institution. So an institution like JGU has been able to prove that today. And I hope this is a take-home for a lot of Indian institutions looking to improve, looking to get things right, and build a world-class setup in India. So congratulations to the leadership. Congratulations to the people supporting the initiative of the institution. So as they celebrate the 10th year next year, we hope many more accolades come their way into rankings and several other evaluation systems. So thank you so much. Very quickly, I would like to show you this impact of QS. Because in India, you would like to know, you do hear a lot of rankings. You do hear QS, you hear THE. Now, this is a figure we have from Meltwater, and those of you who are in media have heard of Meltwater. When we looked at the impact of QS over the last year, comparing QS and THE, we had double the number of inclusions in various medias across the globe in the period of 20th April 2017 to 2018. The estimated reach, now not people, but how many times we have been able to reach people is again 3 times more. The social exposure in terms of social media is again much more. So when we're looking at QS, it is definitely for us, we're very happy to have this evidence to show you why QS has the kind of reach in India. When we look at the media impact, when we look at China, which is our biggest impact there, even for THE as well, we do receive much more impact throughout the world, even when we look at the countries as well. frequently covered by various media, and we'll be happy to have your logos up there as well as we increase our collaboration with you. And the policy influence, this is important. We do have India now, which also is looking at our rankings to make decisions, but that's not India alone. We have Brazil, Denmark, Malaysia, Japan, Kazakhstan, Russia, Singapore, Chile, Netherlands, Thailand, China, and several other governments who are using us for not just policy making, but even for immigration and visa purposes. So a person's life for applying for a particular work visa in Singapore depends on whether he has a QS degree, QS ranked university degree as well. So that's the kind of influence we have, ladies and gentlemen. Last slide is our online presence. One of the highest number ranked websites, because we are so fascinated with rankings. So we looked at Alexa, and we have a rank of 3865 compared to THU, which is 7817. So many more people visit us. Our website receives 60 million visitors a year. So that actually shows what kind of online presence we have. That's for you, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. My email is on the slide here, so please feel free to connect with me on social media, and I'm available for for media interactions after this. So thank you so much. I will leave you behind with the last slide, which has the rating, so we can take the photographs. Yeah, perfect. So we can leave this behind. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fernandez. May I now request Mr. Ashwin Fernandez to kindly unveil the QS iGauge University ratings, and may I request Professor C. Rajkumar to kindly receive the prestigious Diamond University ratings on behalf of OP Jindal Global University. May I now request Professor C. Rajkumar to kindly say a few words.
First of all, I would like to really, thank QS and QS iGauge for having made this important recognition. This is a very special recognition for OP Jindal Global University to have come in our run-up to the 10th anniversary celebrations beginning next year. Little did we expect that in 9 years, a new university could be created in an environment in which private universities are seen with prejudice, and a sense of pejorativeness exists among private universities. For us to build a new university and for it to come of age and to be recognized in this fashion by a reputed international rankings organization. It's important for us to recognize the fact that OP Jindal Global University was created as a philanthropic initiative of our founding chancellor and benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, as a tribute to his father, Shri OP Jindal, who himself made significant contributions to both business and society. The university began in a very modest manner in the year 2009 with only 100 students and 10 faculty members, and we have now come of age and moved with over 4,000 students across 8 different schools and over 350 full-time faculty members. I want to take this moment to thank the benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, but also the outstanding faculty members, the students, the staff, and all the stakeholders that helped the creation of the university. In particular, I would like to thank the Government of Haryana, the University Grants Commission, the Bar Council of India, and other regulatory bodies for their support to the institutional development from our early origins. We are a private university created by the Government of Haryana, and we are the first private university that was created under a new legislation, after which over 25 universities were created by the Government of Haryana. I also want to end by saying that the journey that OP Jindal Global University has covered in the last 9 years is a stellar example of what is possible in India while there are many skeptics of Indian higher education as well as India, both within India and around the world, it is important to mention that the growing sense of recognition that many Indian institutions, both in the public and the private sector, is an example of a new generation of institutions emerging, and also a challenge that is posed to older institutions for them to provide opportunities for change. I strongly believe that universities are the future in terms of the growth of both economy and society. Universities need to become resilient, and they need to help build resilient societies. India has the extraordinary demographic advantage of over 850 million people below the age of 35. And our life expectancy has increased to over 75. This means that when you look at the aging population across the world, including in the Western world, but also in China and Japan and other countries, India will be younger and will be younger for a longer time. And for us to reap the benefits of this demographic situation, to be a truly demographic dividend, we need to invest in higher education. And the example of OP Jindal Global University is an example that needs to be told for the larger evolution of Indian higher education. I want to stop here and take this moment to thank the QS as well as Mr. Ashwin Fernandes for two things. One, to be able to bring a sense of urgency and a sense of imagination within the Indian higher education system for rankings, and to be able to consistently provide opportunities for Indian higher education institutions to emerge in the rankings. And second, to recognize that the rankings, by the nature of it, has limitations, and hence they began the process of establishing iGauge, which essentially provides an opportunity for ratings, which goes deeper into an institution and assess the institutions on a number of indicators, as we have seen. iGauge assesses institutions on 9 different indicators. Each of those indicators, as you see, are critical and almost central to the governance of a university. And what happens within a university will be shaped by how a university places emphasis on each of those 9 aspects. And that is what we have achieved the diamond rating for. This year is very special for us. As Mr. Ashwin Fernandes told, just in this year, into the 2018 framework of Brics Rankings, we were recognized as one of the top 250 to 300 universities among the 9,000 universities in the Brics region, and to be also recognized as one of the top 10 private institutions, and to be the youngest university to be recognized under the international rankings. Both the iGauge rating, diamond rating, and the QS rankings under the Brics poses important opportunities for us to think about the future. As we look at the future, these recognitions will provide a testament and also a sense of inspiration for us to work towards making more important contributions towards building institutions of excellence in India. I would like to stop here and thank you for all your presence and invite you to ask any questions to both me or Ashwin. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kumar, for your address. The House is now open for Q&A round.
No, it's the top 10 in India, in the private institutions.
Among the Brics rankings?
Well, they have ranked, there are 79 Indian institutions which have figured among the 9,000 universities in Brics countries. So, but this is not what is being done today. Today, it's about the rating, which Ashwin had spoken about, in which OP Jindal Global University has been given the diamond rating. The rankings were released late last year.
Who decides the rankings and ratings?
Well, why don't you explain?
Sorry, your question again, sir?
Who decides the ranking and
Yes, so we do both the rankings and ratings. It's our board, which plays a vital role in deciding. It's our board of executive members who have decided on the methodology and everything for us, yeah.
among the Indian
No, so we have all the rankings and ratings are done independently by QS. So we set the methodology, we collect the data, and we do the evaluation on our own.
What is iGauge?
So iGauge is a brand which QS has incorporated in India to rate Indian institutions. So we do have rankings. Rankings are relative. Ratings are not relative. It looks at one institution. Ranking has about 6 to 9 indicators and compares universities, puts them in a relative order. But ratings is like your NAC accreditation, but think of it like an international NAC accreditation for you, where it looks at the whole institution, looks at all the indicators which are fundamental to the governance of an institution, and gives you a rating overall. So you could be overall, like in a hotel, you could be a 5-star hotel, but then in facilities you could be 3 stars because you don't have a good swimming pool, for example. But as in a QSI gauge, it is very similar to that kind of a rating, which tells you that institution is diamond, but also it has got facilities which are on the best, or as per the best parameter there, which is diamond, social responsibility, teaching and learning, and all areas. So it's a rating, and a ranking is the 2 different things.
What do you do under social responsibility, corporate social responsibility?
So in social responsibility, we measure the social impact of an institution. We look at how does the institution contribute to the community. So there's data we collect, that is data we ask the institution to submit across areas in terms of providing scholarships, providing bursaries, looking at first generation learners in the institution, looking at women, what's the percentage of women they have in the student body, looking at handicapped or differently abled students as well. So it looks at the entire spectrum of a social responsibility aspect of an institution.
And how you can say that you are beneficial for government of India also?
So we are here to not provide, we are here to complement what the Indian government is doing. So I think the Indian government is, with the recent reforms it has had. Yesterday was a momentous day again for India, where it goes into a new era altogether. So we are here to complement India on a global level. And I believe that by providing an alternate, reliable private sector initiative, we are complementing what the government does. There is greater confidence with the government in the private sector initiative of evaluating universities. So definitely we are not here to replace anyone, but we are here to complement what the government is doing. And I believe it's an important contribution what QS is providing to Indian higher education and to the global aspect. People will have much more confidence in India by looking at a global organization like QS, which is involved in India today.
What is your planning about the students of economy weaker class?
Can you just say that again?
The poor students.
Right. So in our methodology, we look at what's the percentage of below poverty line students a university has, because we want to also encourage an institution to have good diversity. So that is definitely as part of our methodology. We're looking at how does the institution contribute towards getting more of these students on board, providing scholarships, bursaries to them. So this is part of the methodology, and this is part of the fundamental belief of QS. As our mission says, we want to enable career development across the board for all students of the world, and our rankings, our ratings are meant for students, for all types of students. So I think our work by including these parameters in a ranking strongly puts our footing in what we are trying to say about our activities in India.
Can you disclose? One question more. Can you disclose the number of seats under EWS numbers?
EWS.
Economic section के लिए जो भी seats हैं आपके पास?
No, we don't have seats, so maybe Open Jindal can answer that.
No, so see, whatever admissions process are based upon what the Haryana government has given us. All those processes are under the legislation. So जो भी सरकार की तरफ जो requirement है, all universities have to follow, not just us.
मतलब in your mind the government means Haryana government, not government of India.
Both. See, every university is governed by the state government which established the legislation, the government of India, including the University Grants Commission, the NAC, which is the accrediting agency, the regulatory body which governs education. So, for example, Bar Council of India is the body which regulates legal education, so we are governed by them as well. If a university has a medical school, then they will be governed by the Medical Council of India as well. If a university has engineering courses, they will be governed by the AICT as well. So we are governed by all the laws, rules, regulations, both by the state and the central government, as well as judgments of the courts as well. So we are very strongly governed in India. Please.
सर जो आपने कैटेगरी रेटिंग में रिसर्च में सिल्वर आया हुआ है, तो इसको डायमंड करने के लिए आपके क्या प्लान है?
बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछा. You understood of course, right? So basically जो जैसे ये कह रहे थे, एक यूनिवर्सिटी अगर जो हम लोग तो 9 साल ओल्ड है और इसके साथ एक यूनिवर्सिटी का एक जर्नी होता है. इस रास्ते में हम लोग को बहुत ज़्यादा एम्फेसिस होना चाहिए इसमें रिसर्च के ऊपर. अभी जो 9 साल में हम लोग को सिल्वर रेटिंग जो मिला है, इसका एक बहुत बड़ा हम लोग के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा रिकग्निशन है, क्योंकि अक्सर रिसर्च के जो फाइंडिंग्स है उसको बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम लगता है, पब्लिकेशन और उसके इम्पैक्ट भी. तो ये रिकग्निशन हम लोग को मिलने से हम लोग को बहुत ज़्यादा एनकरेजमेंट मिला है. हम चाहते हैं कि आने वाले समय में हम रिसर्च सेंटर्स को फर्दर एम्पावर करें. अभी हमारे जो फैकल्टी स्टूडेंट रेशियो 1:13 है. अक्सर इंडिया में तो बहुत सारे यूनिवर्सिटीज़ को तो 1:30, 40, 50 और हो सकता है 1:100 है. ये जो बात कर रहे थे MIT का फैकल्टी स्टूडेंट रेशियो 1:3 है. तो हम लोग को हम चाहेंगे कि ये जो हमारे जो एग्जिस्टिंग फैकल्टी स्टूडेंट रेशियो को और कम करें. 1:13 को हो सकता है आने वाले समय हम 1:10 करें, ताकि जो हमारे फैकल्टी को और अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले रिसर्च के ऊपर फोकस करने के लिए. साथ में हम अपने जो रिसर्च ग्रांट्स जो फैकल्टी को देते हैं उसको भी हम अगले जो बजट में हम बढ़ाएंगे, ताकि फैकल्टी को रिसर्च करने के लिए एक मौका मिले, साथ में रिसोर्सेज भी मिले. हम ये भी इस 6 महीने पहले हम एक और स्कीम लेके आए, ताकि हर फैकल्टी को रिसर्च पब्लिकेशंस के लिए रिवॉर्ड मिलना चाहिए, ताकि उनको फर्दर इंसेंटिव मिले रिसर्च करने के लिए. तो ये सारे जो पॉइंट्स जो हमने बताए हैं, ये सारे मैं समझता हूँ कि आने वाले समय में इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा और इसके थ्रू हम सिल्वर से गोल्ड और गोल्ड से डायमंड मिलने का हम लोग को उम्मीद है. प्लीज.
Sir, I have a question to both of you.
Please.
To you, sir, student diversity is something that a lot of Indian universities are facing as a challenge, meaning that not many international students are coming in, and even if they do, they're mainly coming towards private universities. So what is your plan on making the student body more diverse?
We are very fortunate. First of all, I'll accept the point that there is a major challenge across the country. But as a university, we are very, very fortunate that we have students from the 29 states of India, including from Northeast, across South, East and West. From day one, our strength has been our student diversity. Not only the fact that we have students from all the states in India, we have actually students from 20 plus countries in the world as well. So from the student diversity standpoint, we are very fortunate. Of course, we want to further increase our diversity, both in terms of linguistic diversity and gender diversity, and that's something which we're deeply committed to. To answer your question, I think India is now poised to recognize the fact that international students are not coming historically. We've not had a good number of international students. The present government, as in the last year alone, had produced a new framework of internationalization of students, giving opportunities for students from around the world to come and study in Indian academic institutions. We have also invited proposals from Indian universities, public and private, to say that how many students they can actually host from around the world. We participated in it. We have actually offered several hundred students to be available to be hosted at our university. There are a number of challenges. First of all, I think the major challenge for Indian universities is the lack of information that is readily available for students around the world about the degree programs and institutions. Second, the lack of assessing the quality of those institutions in an internationally benchmarked manner. And that is what QS does. Both the rankings and the ratings will provide a tool for students around the world to know the quality of the institutions and their standing both domestically and internationally. 3, the larger regime in terms of visa and regulation and process of moving into a country. You know that we have had a major challenge on that historically, and in fact Indian institutions are all struggling with regard to be able to have easy availability of visas for both international faculty and international students coming in. I'm sure the Government of India is aware of it and are probably taking steps to be able to ease the visa regime. I for one very strongly believe that universities should have a far more freer visa regime so that students from other parts of the world and faculty members from other parts of the world can come in easily. The 4th aspect of the challenge of internationalization of student community is the need for better facilities in our university campus. I think we need an upgradation of our of universities in general, not only public universities but also even private universities. We are very fortunate that in all these aspects we are slightly more privileged than other institutions, because of which we've had historically both international faculty and international students. Ashwin, you want that? I think it's okay. All right. Any further questions? Yeah, yes, another question.
So you spoke of QS working with the government regarding the autonomous colleges becoming autonomous. So could you elaborate?
So
on how
we don't
QS
work, I mean, we definitely support the government. The government refers and has made a reference to QS rankings in the latest Gazette as well. So we are supporting the government in information, we are empowering them with information. And I think that our engagement with the several meetings in the government, with the secretary, with the former president, with the MHRD, with several other people, just shows that how well respected QS is in India. So that was my point basically. But we have no formal collaboration, and I think it's more on information. We provide them privileged information to help them make decisions as well.
I would like to add that this year was very particularly significant for QS and other international rankings organization. For the first time in the history of India, the QS as an organization has been gazetted under the institutions of eminence, rules and regulations. If you look at the Institute of Eminence exercise, one of the most important way by which the expectation on the part of the institutions which are going to be designated as IOE will be for them to be figuring in the QS and other international rankings within a certain period of time. That's a very significant, departure from past policy. It provides legitimacy and credibility of international rankings in India. As you know, even 5 years ago, international rankings were seen with a lot of skepticism, rankings in general, but international rankings in particular. But today, it's a different environment we are in. And in fact, I would say international rankings have also inspired Government of India to formulate its own rankings framework under the NIRF, which is a reflection of what the evolution of rankings within India. Any further questions? Please.
Out of these 9 indicators, like how do you decide on the overall rating? Like the 2, 3.
So we do have a scale, and maybe I can just put it back to that slide so you can see the scale. Just a second. So what we do is, if you look at this presentation here, so depending on the number of points you get, so even if you get 70% of the 1,400 points, you will be rated as a diamond institution overall. So all the categories play a vital role into how an overall rating of an institution is shaped. And the highest rating is a diamond plus, where you get 90% of the points which are provided, and you need to be diamond in all the areas. So definitely for a young institution, I think that's really commendable that they have got at least 70%, and that puts them on par with some of the older institutions in the country which have been here for a long time, and shows them the path to move forward to do better as an institution.
You launched only in March, so how many institutions have been rated?
So we have had 11 institutions which were rated in the first cohort. We have another 20 which are undergoing the process right now, and it's an ongoing process. Unlike rankings, which is released one time of the year, ratings are done on an ongoing basis. So it's an audit. The audit is completed. The results are released. So igauge.in, that's our website. You probably will be able to view the latest results on our website, www.igauge.in. Yes.
One question. How many government institutions are there in that?
So we had one government institution in the first cohort, which was rated. Unfortunately, because it fared really poorly in the rating, and I can't disclose what was the rating because again, it's a decision by the institution not to reveal the results. So that's probably the challenge. They've used this rating system as an internal benchmarking tool to see how they are faring right now and what they should be doing. So they are working on fixing all the, I would say, problems, and hopefully within 3 years when they do a re-audit, they would come out with flying colors. So yes, we did have government institutions.
Are you saying that all these 10 institutions were private universities?
All the 11 were private colleges and universities in India.
Another thing, so if you can just throw some more light about NIRF rankings and how different your rankings and NIRF rankings are.
So NRF is an Indian ranking framework. It looks at India as a whole. So when we look at China, for example, you do have the Shanghai Jiaotong. Yesterday we were having a conversation last evening. The Shanghai Jiaotong ranking was produced by China to aspire Chinese universities to reach out and do much better. So having Nobel laureates in there, and initially you probably didn't have any Chinese universities in the top 100 of the Shanghai Jiaotong University ranking. But the NRF ranking, because India is different from China, is produced as a system to at least encourage institutions to submit data. Because the challenge in India is people don't collect the amount of data. So if I ask an institution, what's the percentage of your students who are first generation learners, that information is not collected. So I think NRF has set the tone by expecting institutions to at least collect and store the data for rankings, and it's given an appetite for institutions to at least vie for some position in national rankings and then go for international rankings and international ratings like QS Gauge as well.
We will be around for some more time, so you can formally please jump in.
So, thank you for your questions. Before we break for tea, we would like to extend our thanks to Mr. Ashwin Fernandes, Professor C. Rajkumar, all the media persons present here, journalists, our colleagues, for your time and patience. Thank you very much. And now we break for tea and refreshments. Thanks a lot.